This week we watched Sinners, written and directed by Ryan Coogler.
This movie is like well deserved of the hype it's getting. Um blockbuster. Like Ryan Coogler, hats off to him, putting together this script, and of course, Michael B. Jordan casting, not casting, but performing in it. All the performance, like an amazing job. The story like holds you the whole time. And it's not just that, but of I'm just gonna I'm like I have so much I want to say about this movie. So I'm gonna get out like the music. Ludwig did his thing again. You know, of course, a lot of the historical elements buried within this movie. Like Ryan, he's on another thing. Ryan Coogler's on another level. He's coming for that, Spielberg-esque, throne as far as when it comes up as a auteur,
Mm.
director. So yeah.
From the trailers, I thought it was going to be a movie about vampires, just set in like a southern 1930s world, interview with the vampire vibes. So I was just like, oh, okay, that's what I'm going to see. And the vampires do not kick in into like much later into the film. So I was confused. Honestly, I was confused for most of it. It took like I had a conference call with my friends yesterday just to be like, help me understand what I'm missing because I feel like I missed some things here.
Mhm.
Either way, I still like however I was trying to like figure it out, break it down in my head. I thought the cinematography was fabulous. I thought that Michael B. Jordan's performance was amazing. I think all the actors like they really ate down in terms of like what they were giving. I think the elements in it were interesting. Putting them all together, I think my brain just was not prepared for that. So it took me a while to digest all of it. But I do like the themes that Ryan is exploring in this film. And I like that you do get to spend time with the characters to get to know them. Yeah, I really love all the actors. Honestly, that was a highlight for me. Like the performances plus like when the vampires do kick in and we get all of that stuff because I'm not like a horror girly, but I am like I do like a little bit of that.
Mm.
I was a Twilight girl for so much of my youth, so it's very embedded in my soul. Um but yeah, so I think that like there's stuff that I just need to put together. And what I said to my friends yesterday was literally like I'm just going to listen to you guys talk. Tell me what you think about it so I can connect the dots in my head.
Like you said, with the initial trailer, I thought I was gonna get something like close to dang, what's the name of the show? Supernatural. With two
Mm.
brothers like going around and hunting vampires and zombies in like Jim Crow era South, and that's not what I got. Um, but like the whole undercurrent from this movie, as like keep pointing every single racial and cultural issue we have in this country. Um, is really amazing. Of course, the movie kicks off with, Native American people hunting for, a white man. We talk about, collectively as, black women, black people being the canary in the coal mine whenever danger is happening. But the original one was, the Native American man when white settlers first came to this country, and he's like, look, we're trying to find this bad white man. Like, let us get this bad white man. Like these like throw back to Pocahontas, these white men are dangerous kind of thing. So I love that hit. Like, then you follow it up with, of course, how church is deeply rooted in, black culture, even though, it was used to enslave us, like our connection to church and religion, is that part of that through line of how we deal with strife and, grief and stuff. It gives us solace a lot. That relationship between the son and his father, that kind of thing. I can kind of vibe to it knowing, I have uncles and many family members who are pastors working at church. My dad's first elder of our church, and I still get the thing like, you got to come to church. That kind of conversation. So I vibe with it. And then on the level of these two brothers, coming back and trying to start something. You see, like, of course, their town has, an Asian person once again highlighting, before, the last couple of years, the divide between black and Asian people, we were really working together, as a minority, and then, powers that be flip it on its head. So you have that, communal connection between a Bo and his wife with the brothers helping them. Like they flashback later in the they're in the kitchen cooking, eating fried chicken, and them that sense of camaraderie that both cultures once had at one point now is now divided. You see that witnessed in the fact that she says, "Oh, I want to." She kind of invites them in a way, highlighting the tension. Like, yes, we're still together, but for some reason, you keep acting in a way that doesn't benefit both communities. That's one racial tension point. Black people do have, and I think also it speaks more to Ryan, be from California. The riots there. I remember the young lady who was shot or killed by the Asian supermarket worker. That led to riots. That's deeply integrated to him as well. Understanding like there's a connection with Black and Asian people, but there's also a bit of tension there. You know, keeping you got the Irish vampire, calling back to when Irish immigrants first came here. There was still racial tension between both them and us, even though because they were still viewed as immigrants, but they had a faster access to assimilation just based on the way they looked, that kind of thing. So I love like the historical and cultural notes he does hit on this, project. But what was the disconnect from um to you with this movie, you know?
I think it really was just that I thought I was going in to watch one film when it
Mhm.
really isn't. I mean, it's there, but it's not. It feels like the vampires are more just like an allegory to
Yeah,
like, white people being culture vultures basically, and like
yeah.
trying to take into our spaces, into our lives, taking our music and all that other stuff. Like that made sense to me. I guess I was just thinking that it was a different movie. I literally thought like it was a vampire movie. So that's why I was just like confused when like we
Mhm,
were really digging into the characters and like learning about their lives, but the vampire stuff doesn't come in until much later. And then when it does, I think the motivation of the main guy, Jack O'Connell's character,
mhm,
is like stated, but I still don't really understand like why. I don't know, like he was there for Sam, which is alluded to in the first scene, but then it seemed like he kind of was just like vibing until he saw Sam in the doorway and was like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm here for you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, so like what's the connection between you guys?" And it's like, "Oh, he wants to go home because of the music is going to send him home." And I'm like, "Okay, I think I missed something. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. That might have been
mhm,
on me." Um so that was like it just yeah, it kind of threw me. I did love the vampire stuff. I loved the action pieces. I thought they were really fun. Um and in the beginning, I really liked the deep dive into the Stack and Smoke characters. I like that Michael B. Jordan literally like acting for his life, like actually was like, I'm playing both of these roles. And I like that they were both super different, even though they
mhm,
want the same thing. I like that they were very distinct in like their characterizations. Um, and I like the idea of like these black men who go off to war and they come back and there's like no space for them. Like there isn't anyone who like wants to really help them. Like they go to Chicago thinking that maybe they can start a new life. And then they just get involved in like mob business just to make money. And then it's a very like capitalistic, like this is what we're gonna do. Like the only thing that matters is money.
mhm.
And if you don't have money, then you don't have a space in this world. But then it doesn't really help them because they go back to the South and the white supremacists are just gonna burn down their stuff anyways. So it's not even like they can really enjoy it. But it's not at that time.
Yeah,
But I liked that piece of it. Like I liked the like black veteran coming back to America trying to like find their way. They're obviously traumatized and like they killed their own dad. Like they're going through stuff. Like the sinner's title, I get it. It's like you are going through a lot right now.
yeah,
Like the other guy lost his child. Like there's a lot going on here. And I like that they weren't, even though they're the protagonists of the film, like they're not like perfect. Like
mhm,
they are flawed
mhm,
individuals. And I liked that presentation of that.
mhm,
Um, and then it was about also Sam's character
mhm,
in the church. And I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds familiar. I'm into that. I get that. He's just gonna go and do his own thing, which I love. Um, and then yeah, so we had those two things coming together. And we also have Delroy Lindo's character, who was like a curmudgeon, like older guy who has been like hardened by the hardships of life.
Mhm.
And he's just like drinking his way to his grave. And but like he still, I love that at the end he still was like, no, I'll sacrifice myself for everybody else. I thought that was great. Um, and I like the whole like history of Black music. Thought that was
Yeah.
fantastic. I've been watching like a lot of documentaries about like music from the 60s and 70s like for the last couple of months. And
Mm.
so seeing the through line of how like we really we're really the reason why there is like pop music. Like we are the
Yeah.
music why like we're the reason why we have all these different genres of music that like hip hop came out of funk and disco music. Like it's a very like we're very integral into the music. But since I've been like learning about that for the last
Mhm.
couple of months, it was very satisfying to see that scene where they explore all the genres and how one thing influenced another. I thought that was great, and I loved how that was shot as well. I think I like all of the stuff in pieces. I think when it was just all brought together, I just couldn't.
There's
It couldn't.
a
I just
disconnect.
yeah. I think I was
Okay.
disconnected. I think the tonal shifts kind of
Mm.
threw me off a little bit, so that's the reason why I wasn't getting to like the bigger picture here. But I do think that like it's good.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to say it's not good. I'm like it is good. It's just like
I will admit it. The movie does take a bit to get the ball rolling. Like you said, when
mm,
up until the vampires actually become a thing. Of course, we see it at the beginning with when he goes and meets the clan member's son, but you don't really dwell on it because it's like a blinking and miss it kind of thing.
mm,
And but the rest of the movie after that point takes a bit to ramp up. I do think there was a bit of uh a slight delivery issue or uses issue. Like I said, when they're talking about, oh, he wants Sammy and his music, to bring back his family and his people, but you hear already making a new family by fighting people and repopulating your
mm,
numbers. There's a bit
mm,
of disconnect on that level for the story. Like you said, I do love that scene where they see the third line between like country slash blues to to funk and rock, and then
mm,
to the modern hip hop and R&B and stuff. That was beautiful. Like you said, you see black fingerprints on music in this country. Like people forget,
mm.
like the core element of almost every musical genre in America is blues and country, which are fundamentally black songs.
Yeah.
No matter how much, these white people want to rail and say Beyonce's not country, you know, black people, we like country comes from blues. That's us within
Hmm.
us, no matter what. Like all your biggest like your, your your Elvises, stole from like Chuck Berry and a lot of other blues musicians to make his rock and roll hits. A lot of some of your older country songs are stealing from Bowling for Black artists. Like y'all wouldn't have this genre y'all think y'all have
Hmm.
without us. So
Yeah. It's it's so true. So I'm glad that he put it on screen because it's always been true.
yeah.
Um, I think that like some of the issues I had with it are they're kind of minor. They're not like that big of a deal. But I do think that like one of the things is especially because this movie is rated R, I don't know if I haven't seen all of the Creeds, so I'm not really sure if he's done this in the Creeds. But I don't know if he's written a sex scene before.
Hmm.
Do you? Have you seen them? Do you know?
In Creed, the Creed movies, no, there isn't really a
I don't
sex
think
in
there's
there.
sex
Usually, they
scenes.
usually do showcase intimacy,
Mm-hmm.
but not like, and I'm fine with it. Like, I don't know if I'm turning into what people say, like a Gen Z prude as I get older or whatever, but
Gen
like,
Z.
that's what they say because a lot of, I guess, a lot of the younger generation are more not into seeing sex depicted in movies. I guess I'm turning into that now. I'm more of a person like, does this scene help edify and help the story? And if it doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
I do think the scene that they had in there worked to sell the story,
Mm-hmm.
because of course there's sexual tension between both Stack and Mary from a prior relationship. So it does make sense, and that's one the only way she could probably turn him into a vampire as well. So in that
Yeah.
in that sense it worked. And it wasn't like too much.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
mostly a behind the back shot or and close kissing, so
Yeah, what I was saying, I wasn't saying that I had an issue with it. What I'm saying is that in terms of the sex scene, I think in terms of like writing sex scenes. I think certain time like, if you don't really know how to do it, it can come off a little bit cringy. That's kinda
Mhm.
where I'm coming from. Like, some of the language that's used around sex or sexuality, it is kinda giving, like, "Oh, I've never had to, like, articulate this before, so it's gonna sound a little rough." So that's the only things that were kinda getting it was pulling me out a little bit whenever any character was trying to be, like, sexual. It was just giving, like, a 15-year-old boy just watched
Yes.
his first, like um,
And that's
but
hard to depict in film, like, it really is, you
yeah,
know?
and I don't know if they had an intimacy coordinator on set, I'm not really sure how that worked, but in terms of that sex scene between Mary and Stack, I did think it was good. I just thought, like, I honestly wanted because me and my friend was talking about this yesterday, actually, and she was, like, saying that she really appreciated that there was a Black woman who was in a bigger body who actually got to be sexual on screen, and I was like, "Yes, exactly, that's exactly right." But there wasn't, like, a lot of tenderness, it was just very, like, "I haven't seen you in a while, so let's" and it was, like, taken from the back, and I was like, "Oh, I kinda just wish it was, like, we coulda spent more time, like, really having a moment with them where it was a little bit more tender, a little bit more intimate."
Mary is that typical, like, white person that's grown up around Black people, but they still don't understand the
Yeah.
cultural differences, especially at that time in the Jim Crow South. You know, her not understanding why, Stack can't stay with her as a Black man in the Jim Crow South, where he's kind of like, yes, I love you, but I can't have you be with me. Like her not wanting to understand that point, which I do get, which plays into the friction between their characters. There's a love there, but I'm aware that we can't be together, but you want us to still be together, kind of
Mhm.
thing. And of course, you spoke about Annie and Smoke. They had a daughter. They have a prior relationship. So there's also a deep love, but also a bit of on her end abandonment because the child dies and he leaves, and so
Mhm.
that I guess their intimate themes comes off as almost carnal in a way,
Mm.
because he still keeps the the warding bag that she made him. That means he's still like, I still love you. I'm still wearing this to keep the protection. That means there's a sense of there's still that relationship there.
Really love the music. I think Ludwig Göransson, like,
Mhm.
he's just doing his thing. And I think his partnership with Ryan in particular, as well as Ryan's partnership with Michael, I think that's really strong, and I feel like that's the reason why the movie works the way it does is because you had these people who had worked together so many times before,
Mhm.
who had a shared language, a shared understanding. I'm just so happy that a movie like this, an original film from a Black director, writer-director, starring a Black actor, is doing as well as it is. I think that that's fantastic. I We've been talking about specifically just how, like, we haven't really seen a lot of Black films lately, like, that post Get Out, that post Moonlight era where it was just, like, it was kinda barren. You would see maybe, like, 1 or 2, maybe 2, like, in a year that was getting this type of light. So, the fact that it's doing as well as it is and that, like, everyone is paying attention to this and hopefully taking notice of what's happening here makes me really excited. It's given me, like, the shot in the arm to believe again,
Mhm.
basically.
Do you like that clip? Well, you can listen to the entire podcast because the 16 millimeter Film Crew podcast is available on all major podcast platforms.